Hi, welcome back to Make It in Solidworks. In this session, we're going to be dealing with the final session of this project, and we're going to be combining handles with this jerry can. So this is a bit of an ugly duckling, not much that I'm prepared to do about that, as long as we know how to do it. And I'm going to start off with modeling these ribs in the handle. I'm not going to require you to do all of the ribs I've shown here, just this top row. And then we're going to move on to modeling the jerry can itself. So there'll be 3 videos, one dealing with the handle, one dealing with the basics of the jerry can, and then the last one dealing with the details such as the shelling, these details, and so forth. So let's move across to the handle. So this is what I've got so far. I'm going to just back up a little bit so that we get to that point there. So I don't think I've shown you how to do this yet. I have shown you how to do ribs, but this particular kind of rib, I'm going to quickly go back to it. So editing the sketch gets me to something like this, right? So I'm going to change the view, and I've put these lines in. These are not super necessary, but as you can see, they control the overall shape of, or the overall width of the actual rib. So this rib here, you can do a shape like this coming out. I'll show you how to do that in a moment. These could be linked in some way to the actual wall thickness. I've put them approximately in the middle just to give me an idea of where they'll intercept the actual wall thickness. Okay, so I haven't completely dimensioned this. I would typically want to dimension, say, the height of this. There we go, it goes fully black. And then perhaps to dimension the position as well. But I'm going to leave it as it is for now, just for the sake of getting on with it. And let's go out of that. Right, so I'm going to delete this for now and start again. So we will have that sketch, and if you select the sketch like that, and you go to the rib tool, under features, rib tool, you'll get your usual decision making that you need to provide SolidWorks with. Which direction do you want it to go? Do you want it to go sideways, which you can do, which obviously we don't want to do in this case, or left to right? And here I'm going to multiply. I think my wall thickness is 2.5 multiplied by multiply by 0.67, which will give you the root thickness. Then I'm going to double click in that, give it a 0.5 degree, and say at wall interface. This should all be familiar to you by now. Make sure the arrow is not pointing up but pointing down, and say yes, and there we go. We've got a rib. Now I want this rib to repeat along a line. So we're going to use this command here under linear pattern, which is curve driven pattern. So to get that curve in place, let's see, I think it's this one here. I've done all of this before so that I don't have to construct from the beginning. But what I've done here is I've just created sort of a cutoff point. And the reason I've done that is that I don't want this line to extend too far, because when I repeat this rib, whatever this rib shape is going to repeat up to whatever point this sketch is at. And obviously, if I go out there, the rib is going to be sitting in the middle of nowhere, not going from side to side. So just to get to the beginnings of this, what I've done here is I've selected an edge, which is that edge there, and I've converted it. And then I've converted that into a construction line. So there we go. You can see it's for construction. So that should be fairly simple. And then I've created a center line from, this is not quite correct. I've created a center line from the midpoint of the top of where, let's just go into a 3D view of where this fillet starts to where that fillet is. So you can see it's linked to the 2, and then I've calculated, using a dimension, I've calculated from that point to the midpoint, 8.82, and then I've offset that curve from the other curve there by 8.82, and then I've given it a limit. Oh, by the way, so that's on 1/2. What I have here is I've got two curves. Now, this isn't a problem for this particular repetition that I want to do, but normally what you need is a continuous curve. And so if you don't have one that's linked, like here I can select these as 2 segments, what you can do is select the 2 segments, or however many segments you've got, go to Tools and go to Spline Tools and say Fit Spline. So let's go through that again. Make sure the 2 segments, or however many segments you've got, are selected. Tools, Spline Tools, Fit Spline, and then you can determine the kind of tolerance that you want. So I could reduce or increase this. So I'm going to leave it fairly tight. These lines here, that's just the curvature comb. We're going to learn about that a bit later. It just shows you how continuous it is. Say yes, okay. And you'll see now I've got a continuous line. So exit that. All right, so we've got a rib and we've got a sketch. So all I need to do now is go to this linear pattern, select curve-driven pattern, and then select the item that I want to actually feature as being part of it. That's under features and faces, by the way, that one there. And so in the beginning, you would choose the sketch itself. If it doesn't show up, just go to your on-screen menu and select that sketch. There it is. Okay, and I've got 18 here. You can specify as many as you want. 8 is fine. You can go like that in either direction, right? So let's leave it in this direction and say okay, and voila, you've got a series of ribs. And so now all I need to do from here is to mirror this. So we go to the mirror command, and I'm going to select my right plane. Yes, that's the correct one. And I've got that pattern, and I say okay, and there we go. So fairly simple, and I'm going to ask you just to do that. Oh yes, and then I will give you the details of this handle. I'll actually send you this handle if you want to use this one, but I'll give you the dimensions so that you've got some idea of what I've done that'll fit into the model, and I'll show you how to convert that sketch. What I've created is a sketch of this outline as a block. You're not going to have to do that. I will create a separate short video on how you can create a silhouette and then bring that through into the jerry can so that it's a basis for which to create cutouts. So that's the end of this video. I'll see you in the next.